The sun was setting over the alien world, casting an orange glow across the dry, barren landscape. The human warrior, Isaac, lay motionless on the cracked earth. His once pristine armor was now dented and scorched from the battle. Sweat mixed, with blood staining his face as he struggled to breathe. His chest heaved with each ragged breath, but the pain was unbearable. His body had been broken, and his strength was fading fast. Isaac had never expected to be captured. He had fought hard against the alien invaders, a group known as the Zorath. They were a race of brutal warriors who had come to Earth years ago, bent on destruction. Isaac was part of a resistance force, a group of soldiers determined to protect their planet. But the Zorath were stronger, more advanced, and in the end, they had overwhelmed them. Isaac's eyes fluttered open, and for a moment, everything was blurry. He tried to move, but his limbs felt like lead, stiff and unresponsive. He could hear the voices of the alien captors around him, speaking in a language he couldn't understand. The words were harsh and sharp, like the screech of metal against stone. One of them stepped closer, and Isaac could see the shadow of a tall figure towering over him. The alien's eyes were cold, emotionless, as if Isaac's suffering meant nothing. Isaac's heart raced with fear. He had seen what the Zorath did to prisoners. No mercy, no second chances. His fate had already been sealed. The thought of death didn't frighten him as much as the thought of what might happen before it. The Zorath had a long history of ritualistic sacrifices, and he feared that he would be nothing more than a symbol to please their gods. But before he could resign himself fully to his fate, the air around him seemed to shift. There was a sudden stillness, a tension that hung heavy in the air. Isaac tried to focus, but his vision was fading. His mind swirled with confusion and exhaustion. Just then, he heard a voice unlike any he had heard before. "Release him," the voice commanded, calm yet powerful. The figure looming over Isaac stopped. His heart skipped a beat. He turned his head with difficulty, trying to see where the voice had come from. Through his blurred vision, he saw a figure moving toward him. A woman. She was unlike anyone he had ever seen. Tall, regal, with a presence that seemed to fill the entire space around her. She wore a robe of deep violet decorated with symbols Isaac couldn't recognize. Her face was pale, almost otherworldly, with eyes that shone like the stars in the night sky. She had a calm expression, her features sharp yet graceful, and Isaac could feel an energy around her, like she was more than just a person, like she was something ancient, something powerful. The Zorath soldiers stepped back, their expressions shifting to one of surprise. The woman was not just any alien. She was the Prophetess, the leader of their people's spiritual order. Her name was Azara, and her word was law. The people revered her, worshipped her, and feared her all at once. "No harm shall come to him," Azara continued, her voice soft but commanding. "He is not to be sacrificed." Isaac felt a strange mix of relief and confusion wash over him. Was she speaking about him? Was she saving him? The high priest of the Zorath, a tall and imposing figure, stepped forward. His eyes narrowed. "Prophetess," he said, his voice dripping with skepticism. "He is an enemy, a human. He has come to destroy us." Azara turned her gaze toward the priest, her eyes glowing with a quiet intensity. "You know nothing of him, the prophecy has spoken." The priest hesitated. The words, "the prophecy," were enough to make even the most loyal Zorath soldiers pause. The prophecy was something that had been passed down through generations, a series of visions and cryptic messages that only the prophetess could interpret. The Zorath believed that their fate was bound to these prophecies, that they were the key to their survival, and to challenge the prophetess was to challenge their very destiny. The priest stepped back, bowing his head. His authority diminished. In the face of Azara's command, the crowd of Zorath soldiers parted as the prophetess approached Isaac, kneeling beside him. She placed a hand on his forehead, and Isaac's body felt a sudden warmth, a healing energy that spread through him. The pain in his chest dulled, and his breath became easier. Isaac's eyes met hers, and for the first time since his capture, He felt a glimmer of hope. She was saving him. But why? Why was this powerful alien woman, someone who could command armies and manipulate fate, choosing to spare a human like him? Ajara's voice was calm, but there was a sadness in it that Isaac could not ignore. "You are not meant to die today, warrior. Your fate is far greater than any of us could imagine." Isaac's mind was spinning. He wanted to speak, to ask her what she meant, but his body was too weak. His eyes fluttered, and he drifted in and out of consciousness, the voices of the Zorath fading as the darkness overtook him once more. When Isaac awoke again, he was no longer lying on the cold stone of the sacrificial altar. He was inside a chamber, soft light filtering through the walls, the air thick with an unfamiliar scent. He tried to sit up, but his body was still heavy, and his muscles screamed in protest. Ajara was standing nearby, watching him with her penetrating gaze. "Rest, warrior," she said, her voice softer now. "You have been through much." Isaac blinked, still unsure of everything. The prophetess had saved him, but why? What did she see in him that made him so important? "You are meant for something greater, but only time will reveal the path," Ajara continued. "The journey ahead will not be easy, and you will face challenges unlike any you have known before. But you are not alone." Isaac swallowed hard. He had no answers, only questions. But for now, he had no choice but to trust the alien who had spared his life. Isaac's mind was still clouded by the chaos of the past hours. He had been dragged through the dirt, beaten and left to die by the Zorath. His body was battered, his spirit broken. But now, lying in a soft bed in a strange alien temple, he felt a strange peace. The pain had faded and his breath was no longer labored. It was as if something inside him had shifted. A weight lifted from his chest. The chamber he was in was unlike anything he had ever seen. The walls glowed with a soft blue light, and strange symbols ran across the surface like an ancient language that Isaac couldn't comprehend. The air was thick with the scent of incense, a calming aroma that made it difficult to stay awake for long. Isaac's eyes flickered as he tried to sit up, but his body wasn't ready for movement yet. He winced, his muscles aching from the fight and the long journey here. As he rested, he couldn't help but think about the woman who had saved him, Ajara, the prophetess. Her presence had been commanding, but not in the way Isaac expected from a leader. She didn't force him to obey or bow before her. Instead, there was a calm confidence in her, an assurance that made Isaac believe she knew something he didn't, something that could change the course of his life. Isaac looked around, trying to find something familiar. He had never been to this alien world before. But he had heard rumors of the Zorath, of their power and their strange customs. He had come here to fight, to protect his people. But now, it seemed his role had shifted. The door to the chamber opened with a soft hiss and Ajara entered. She moved gracefully, her robe flowing like liquid as she approached Isaac's bedside. Her expression was calm, but there was a depth in her eyes that hinted at something far beyond what a normal person might experience. Isaac found himself staring at her, trying to figure out why she had chosen to save him. Why him, a mere human? "You are awake," Ajara said softly, her voice a soothing melody. She sat beside him, her eyes never leaving his. "How do you feel?" Isaac shifted, unsure of how to answer. "Better," he replied, his voice hoarse. "But I don't understand. Why am I here? Why did you save me?" Ajara's gaze softened. "You were meant to die, yes, but death is not always the end. Sometimes it is merely a beginning." Isaac furrowed his brow, still trying to make sense of her words. "A beginning," he repeated. "I was supposed to die in your ritual. You stopped them." Ajara nodded slowly, her fingers gently tracing a symbol on the fabric of her robe. "I stopped them because I saw something in you, something that you may not yet understand. The prophecy is spoken, and it says that the fate of both our people rests with you." Isaac blinked. "The prophecy?" The prophetess smiled faintly. "Yes, For centuries, my people have relied on the guidance of the visions I receive. These visions are not always clear, but they always lead us toward our destiny. And your destiny, Isaac, is tied to the survival of our world. Isaac felt a lump form in his throat. He had come here to fight for his own people, to protect Earth from the Zorath. But now it seemed as though he was part of a larger story, one that spanned across worlds, a story that he didn't fully understand. "I'm just a soldier," he said quietly. "I don't know anything about prophecies or destiny. I'm not special." Azara's eyes gleamed with something ancient. "You may not feel special, but you are. The prophecy speaks of a warrior who will bridge the gap between our worlds, a warrior who will bring strength when all hope is lost. That warrior is you, Isaac." Isaac shook his head, still trying to grasp the situation. "But I'm just a human. I'm not like you. I don't have whatever it is you have. What if I fail? What if I'm not the one you need?" The prophetess placed a gentle hand on his shoulder, her touch surprisingly warm. "You are more capable than you realize. You may not have my abilities, but you have something that my people have long forgotten. Courage, perseverance, and the will to fight, no matter the odds." Isaac couldn't believe what he was hearing. He was just a soldier, a man who had been trained to fight and survive. He had no powers, no magical abilities. What could he possibly do that would change anything for the Zorath? But Azara seemed to believe in him. Her faith in him was unwavering, and that was enough to make Isaac feel like he might be more than just a soldier. He had to find a way to accept this new role, to trust in the words of the prophetess. But how could he? He had no experience with prophecies or ancient destinies. His world had been about fighting, not about saving entire races. "You must rest, Isaac," Azara said, noticing the weariness in his eyes. "Your body is still healing, and the journey ahead will be long and difficult. I know this is a lot to process, but you must prepare yourself. The Zorath will come for us soon, and when they do, we will need you." Isaac nodded, though his mind was racing. What was he supposed to do? How could he, a mere human, save an entire world? The weight of the prophecy hung heavy on his chest, but he knew one thing for certain. He couldn't ignore it. If Azara believed in him, then perhaps he could find a way to believe in himself. As the hours passed, Isaac lay back down, his thoughts swirling in confusion. He didn't know what the future held, but he knew that his life had been changed, forever. The prophetess had saved him for a reason, and he was determined to uncover what that reason was. He couldn't go back to Earth, not yet. There was something here, in this alien world, that needed him, and for the first time in a long while, Isaac felt like maybe, just maybe, he could be the hero that Azara believed he was. The days after Isaac's strange rescue blurred together. He spent most of his time resting, but each time he awoke, his mind felt clearer, his body stronger. The chamber he was kept in was quiet and peaceful, a place that felt worlds apart from the chaos he had left behind. Still, he couldn't help but feel a nagging sense of confusion and doubt. Why was he here? What role did he play in the prophetess's visions? Azara had visited him every day, offering her quiet guidance and care. Despite his hesitation, Isaac couldn't deny the strange pull he felt towards her. There was something undeniably captivating about her. Her calm, her wisdom, and the way she spoke as if she already knew the answers to questions he hadn't yet thought to ask. She was not just a leader, but someone who seemed to hold the weight of the world in her hands, her every decision charged with meaning. Yet Isaac struggled to understand her. She had saved him, yes, but why? What was it about him that made him so important to her people? One morning, Isaac found himself staring at the window, watching the alien landscape stretch out beyond the temple. The sky was a strange shade of purple, with two suns setting in the distance, casting an eerie light across the barren terrain. He thought about his own world, Earth, the people he had left behind, the friends who had fallen in battle. Could he ever go back? Would he even want to, knowing what he had become here? Just then, the door to his chamber opened. Azara entered, her presence almost like a breeze in the still room. She moved silently, her robes flowing as she approached Isaac with a gentle smile. "How are you feeling today, warrior?" she asked. Her voice soft yet carrying a strength that made Isaac sit up a little straighter. "I'm getting better," Isaac replied, his voice rough from disuse. "I feel different, but I don't know if it's enough. I still don't understand why I'm here. Why am I so important?" Ajara sat beside him, her eyes filled with understanding. "You are important because you are not just any human. You are part of the prophecy that my people have followed for generations. The vision I saw, your destiny, is intertwined with ours." Isaac frowned. "But I'm not a hero. I'm just a soldier. I don't have anything special." "You have. More than you know," Ajara said, her tone firm yet reassuring. "Your strength, your determination, these things are more powerful than you realize, and you are capable of more than just fighting. You have the heart of a leader." Isaac shook his head, struggling to believe her. "I don't feel like a leader. I'm just trying to survive. I don't have the power to change anything." Ajara placed a hand on his arm, her touch warm and comforting. "That is where you are wrong. Power doesn't always come from strength or magic. True power comes from understanding your purpose, and you have not yet discovered yours." Isaac's mind raced. Was she right? Could he really have a purpose beyond what he had always known? Beyond being just a soldier in a war he didn't understand? It was hard to imagine, but as he looked into Ajara's calm eyes, something deep inside him shifted. Perhaps there was more to this than he could see. For the next few days, Ajara took Isaac on small journeys around the temple, showing him the wonders of her world. She spoke of the Zorath people's history, their traditions, and the ancient prophecies that had shaped their society. Isaac listened closely, learning about the visions that had guided Ajara's people for centuries. He couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. These people had a deep connection to their past, their future, and their beliefs. They saw the world in a way that he couldn't even begin to understand. But the more he learned, the more he realized how little he knew. His world had been simple: survive, fight, protect. He had never thought much about fate or destiny. Yet now, with Ajara's words echoing in his mind, he felt like he was a small piece of something much bigger, something that could change the future of both his world and hers. One afternoon, Ajara took him to a hidden garden behind the temple. It was a peaceful place, filled with strange alien plants that glowed softly in the dim light. The air was thick with the scent of flowers Isaac had never smelled before. In the center of the garden was a small pool of water, clear and still, surrounded by rocks that seemed to shimmer in the light. "This is where I come to meditate," Ajara explained, standing beside the water. "This place helps me clear my mind to see the future more clearly." Isaac watched her, wondering how she could remain so calm when so much was at stake. "What do you see, Ajara?" he asked. "What does the future hold?" Ajara closed her eyes and inhaled deeply, letting the peacefulness of the garden wash over her. When she spoke, her voice was soft, as if she were listening to something far away. "The future is not set in stone," she said slowly. "But I see a great darkness coming, one that could destroy everything. The Zorath are strong, but we are not invincible. There are forces beyond our control, forces that seek to take everything from us." Isaac felt a shiver run down his spine. The gravity of her words hit him hard. "What can we do?" he asked, his voice tight. Ajara turned to face him, her eyes filled with determination. "You can help us fight. You are the key to our survival. But you must embrace your destiny, Isaac. You must become more than just a soldier. You must become the leader that the prophecy has spoken of." Isaac felt the weight of her words settle in his chest. He had never considered himself a leader, but Ajara believed in him. She had given him a second chance, and now it seemed like he had no choice but to trust in her. His journey was just beginning, and no matter how uncertain the future seemed, he knew one thing for sure. He couldn't turn back now. As he stood by the water, looking into the still surface, Isaac saw a reflection of himself that he barely recognized. The man staring back at him wasn't just a soldier. He was someone destined to change the fate of not one, but two worlds. And for the first time since his capture, Isaac felt a glimmer of hope. The next few days felt like an eternity to Isaac. As his body grew stronger, so did the pressure on his mind. He couldn't shake the feeling that he had a much larger role to play in this strange world than he could ever imagine. Ajara had said that he was part of the prophecy, but what did that really mean? How could a soldier like him be the key to saving an entire race? Despite the overwhelming confusion, Isaac followed Ajara's guidance, listening to her as she spoke of ancient prophecies and visions. He had learned about her people's history, about their struggles and triumphs, their wars and peace treaties, their beliefs and fears. The Zorath were a proud and powerful race, but they were not invincible. Isaac had come to understand that the people of this world were facing something far more dangerous than anything they had ever encountered. One evening, Ajara took Isaac to the high cliffs overlooking the valley where their city lay. The sky above them was painted in shades of red and purple as the twin suns set, casting an eerie glow over the land. Isaac couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. The view was breathtaking, but the air around them felt heavy, as if something ominous was approaching. "This is where I come when I need to see the future," Ajara said, her voice barely a whisper, against the wind. "The visions are clearer here. I can hear them calling." Isaac turned to look at her. Her gaze was fixed on the horizon, her eyes distant and far away. He could see the lines of worry etched on her face. It was clear that something weighed heavily on her mind. "What do you see, Ajara?" he asked. Ajara didn't answer right away. She closed her eyes and breathed deeply, as though drawing in the very essence of the land. Isaac waited, unsure of what to expect. Then, her voice broke the silence. "The visions are becoming more urgent," she said. "I see a great darkness, approaching, a force that seeks to consume everything. It is not a mere enemy, it is something far worse, a power that has been hidden for centuries, waiting for the right moment to strike." Isaac felt a chill run down his spine. "What kind of power?" he asked, his voice tight with fear. Ajara turned to face him, her expression grim. "The Zorath are strong, but not even we can fight what is coming. It is an ancient power, one that even my people have forgotten. It has the ability to destroy worlds. Completely." Isaac's heart raced. He had come to this alien world to fight for survival, to protect his own planet. But now, it seemed that he was caught in something much bigger, something far beyond what he had expected. "Why didn't you warn us sooner?" Isaac asked, his voice rising with frustration. "Why didn't you tell me what I was walking into?" Ajara's eyes softened. "I could not reveal everything. The prophecy had to be fulfilled. The warrior, the one who would save us, had to come in his own time. And now you are here." Isaac felt a surge of anger. He didn't ask for this. He hadn't chosen to be part of some prophecy or ancient vision. He had just wanted to fight, to protect his people, to do something meaningful. But now it seemed that he was being pulled into something he didn't understand. Something much more dangerous than he had ever imagined. "Do you think I'm the only one who can stop this?" Isaac asked, his voice tight with emotion. "I'm just a soldier. I don't know anything about these visions or prophecies. I just know how to fight." Ajara placed a hand on his shoulder, her touch gentle but firm. "You are the one who can stop it, Isaac. You have the strength, the courage, and the heart of a leader, but you must learn to trust in yourself." Isaac looked at her, searching her eyes for any hint of doubt. But there was none. She truly believed in him. The silence between them stretched on, both of them staring out at the horizon, lost in their own thoughts. Isaac couldn't help but wonder what kind of force they were up against, and more importantly, how he was supposed to stop it. After a long moment, Ajara spoke again. "I have seen what is coming. The darkness is not just an enemy. It is a force that feeds on fear, on anger, on hatred. It will use everything against us. It will turn our own weaknesses into weapons." Isaac's mind raced as he tried to process her words. So we're fighting something we can't even see? Something that doesn't care about honor or war? Azura nodded. Exactly. And that is why we need you, Isaac. You are the key to facing this power. You are the only one who can stand against it. Isaac stood there in silence, feeling a weight pressing down on him. He had never thought of himself as a leader. He had always been just one soldier among many. But now, Azura was asking him to take on a responsibility that he didn't fully understand. How could he be the one to stop something so powerful? What do I need to do? Isaac finally asked, his voice steady despite the doubts swirling in his mind. Azura looked at him, her gaze unwavering. You must face the darkness head-on. You must confront it with everything you have. But you will not be alone. I will guide. You and the Zorath will fight by your side. Together we will stand against the force that threatens us all. Isaac nodded, though the weight of her words felt heavier than ever. He didn't know if he was ready for this, but there was no turning back now. The fate of two worlds rested in his hands, and he had to find the strength to face whatever was coming. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the valley in darkness, Isaac made a silent promise to himself. He would fight. He would protect this world, even if it meant sacrificing everything he had left. The days that followed Azura's revelation were filled with tension and unease. Isaac could feel the weight of the prophecy pressing on his shoulders more and more each day. He had agreed to help, to stand by Azura and the Zorath people, but he still didn't understand how he, just a soldier, could make a difference. The darkness Azura spoke of felt like something far too powerful for anyone to defeat. But he had no choice. The Zorath were counting on him. Azura was counting on him. Training began in earnest. Isaac worked alongside the Zorath warriors, learning their fighting styles and adapting them to his own techniques. Despite their differences, he found that their strength and precision in battle were unmatched. He trained long hours, pushing his body to the limit, determined to be ready when the time came. Every swing of his sword, every move he practiced, was a step closer to the day he would face the darkness Azura had warned him about. Yet even as Isaac grew stronger, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The city of the Zorath, once full of pride and power, now felt tense, the atmosphere thick with fear. Whispers traveled through the streets, and Isaac began to notice the distrust in the eyes of some of the Zorath soldiers. They spoke in hushed tones whenever he passed, and their glances were often sharp, as if they saw him not as their ally but as an outsider. One evening, as Isaac was finishing a long day of training, Azura approached him in the temple's courtyard. Her face was calm, but there was a sadness in her eyes that he hadn't seen before. Isaac, there is something I must tell you, she said, her voice soft but urgent. Isaac frowned, sensing the gravity of her words. What's wrong? I have seen the future, Azura began, and I fear that we may be walking into a trap. There are those among us who do not believe in the prophecy, who fear the change that you represent. They believe that the future of our people should not rest in the hands of a human. Isaac's heart skipped a beat. He had sensed the tension, but hearing it from Azura's lips made it feel real. What are you saying? Are they planning to betray us? Azura nodded. Yes, some of the Zorath leaders have already begun to conspire against us. They believe that our only hope lies in the old ways, not in the prophecy. They are willing to do anything to stop the change you bring. Isaac's fists clenched at his sides. So, we have traitors in our midst? Azura's eyes darkened. It is more complicated than that. These leaders are not evil. They are afraid. They fear what might happen if the prophecy is fulfilled. They do not trust in the vision I have seen, and they believe that you, a human, cannot lead us to salvation. Isaac felt a surge of frustration. He had come here to help, to fight for their survival, and now there were those who doubted him. What should we do? He asked, his voice hard. How can we stop them? Azura hesitated for a moment before speaking. We cannot fight them openly. If we do, we risk dividing our people at the very moment when we need unity the most. We must be careful, but I will not let them destroy the prophecy. I will make sure you are not alone in this. Isaac looked into Ajara's eyes, and for the first time, he saw a flicker of fear in her gaze. But there was also something else. Determination. She believed in him, and that belief was the only thing keeping him from falling apart. "I'll do whatever it takes," Isaac said, his voice steady. "But we need to act quickly. The darkness is coming. We can't afford to waste any more time." Ajara nodded. "I agree, but we must be cautious. Trust no one who does not support the prophecy." The next few days were filled with an air of quiet tension. Isaac and Ajara continued to train, preparing for the coming battle, but every time Isaac passed one of the Zorath leaders, he felt their eyes on him, calculating, judging. It was only a matter of time before the betrayal came. Isaac's instincts proved to be right. A week later, as the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the city, Isaac received word that a group of Zorath soldiers had gathered in the temple's lower chambers. Ajara was meeting with them, and the atmosphere was thick with unease. Isaac knew something was wrong. He made his way to the temple, his heart pounding in his chest. He had to find Ajara and make sure she was safe. As he approached the chamber, he overheard voices inside. The conversation was heated, and he could make out the familiar voices of the Zorath leaders, the ones who had been suspicious of him from the start. "I told you we should have never trusted her," one of them growled. "This human, he cannot be the answer. He is a distraction. He is our only hope." Ajara's voice rang out, strong but filled with desperation. "You don't understand what is at stake. The prophecy is a lie." Another voice shouted, "The human is nothing more than a tool. We have made a mistake, and now we must correct it." Isaac's blood ran cold. He knew what this meant. The leaders were plotting to take Ajara down, to end the prophecy before it could be fulfilled. They didn't care about their future. They only cared about preserving their power. Isaac didn't hesitate. He pushed open the door and stepped into the chamber, his eyes blazing with anger. "You're wrong," he said, his voice low and dangerous. "I'm not a tool, and neither is Ajara." The Zorath leaders turned to face him, their expressions a mixture of surprise and fear. But Isaac didn't give them a chance to speak. He stepped forward, his hand on the hilt of his sword. "This ends now," he said, his voice full of authority. "If you want to fight, I'll give you one chance to back down. Otherwise, you'll have to face me." The room fell silent, the tension thick in the air. Ajara stood off to the side, her face pale but resolute. Isaac knew what he had to do. He had to protect her, protect the prophecy, and protect the future of both their worlds. But the betrayal had already begun. Isaac stood in the center of the chamber, his heart pounding with a mixture of anger and determination. The betrayal was more real than he had ever imagined. The Zorath leaders, the ones who had once looked at him with suspicion, were now ready to do anything to stop the prophecy, to stop him. Their fear of change had blinded them to the truth, and Isaac knew that if he didn't stop them now, everything they had worked for, the future of the Zorath people, and the chance to defeat the dark force approaching their world, would be lost. The room was filled with tense silence as the leaders glared at him, their expressions cold and hostile. Isaac could feel the weight of their gazes, the years of tradition and power they represented. They were not just soldiers or warriors, they were the ruling class, the ones who had shaped the course of their people's history. And now, they saw him, a human, as a threat to everything they had worked for. Ajara stood a few steps behind Isaac, her face pale but unwavering. She had stood by him, even when her own people questioned him. Now it seemed that she was the only one who truly believed in the prophecy, in the destiny that had brought Isaac to this world. "You can't stop this," Isaac said, his voice steady despite the anger swirling inside him. "You can't undo the prophecy. The future of your people depends on what we do now." One of the Zorath leaders, a tall, broad-shouldered figure named Commander Kyle, stepped forward, his eyes narrowed in defiance. "You are nothing but a human," Kyle spat, his voice filled with contempt. "You have no right to decide the fate of our people. The prophecy is nothing but a lie. We have to protect our way of life, and that means ending this foolishness before it destroys us all. Isaac didn't flinch. He had heard these words before, had heard them from the moment he arrived on this alien world. The Zorath were afraid of change, of the unknown, and Isaac was the embodiment of that fear. But fear was not going to stop him. Not this time. You're wrong, Isaac said, his voice rising with conviction. The only way for your people to survive is to face the future. The darkness that's coming, it's real, and if you don't accept it, if you don't work together, it will destroy everything. Azara stepped forward, her eyes filled with an intense sorrow. Please, she said, her voice barely a whisper. You don't understand what's at stake. The future of the Zorath is tied to the prophecy, and Isaac is the one who will lead us to victory. If we don't stand together, we will fall apart. But Kale's face remained hard, his decision already made. You are weak, Azara, he said coldly. Your vision has led us into chaos. The only way to save our people is to reclaim control, and the first step is eliminating the threat. Isaac's heart sank as he realized what Kale was saying. The leader wasn't just talking about him, he was talking about Azara too. The betrayal wasn't just a political maneuver, it was a personal attack on everything Azara stood for. You would betray your own people for power? Isaac asked, his voice thick with disbelief. Kale's eyes flickered for a moment, but he quickly regained his composure. Power is the only way to protect our future, he replied, and you are nothing more than a distraction. Isaac felt his anger rise to the surface. He had been trying to stay calm, to think clearly, but this was too much. Kale's words were like a slap to the face, an attack on everything he had worked for, everything he had believed in. No, Isaac said firmly, stepping forward. I won't let you destroy this. I won't let you take everything we've worked for and throw it away. Before anyone could react, Isaac drew his sword, its blade glinting in the dim light of the chamber. The Zorath soldiers in the room took a step back, uncertain of what to do. They had seen Isaac fight in the training grounds, but this was different. This was not just a fight for survival, it was a fight for the future of their people. Azara looked at Isaac, her eyes filled with both fear and admiration. She knew this was the moment. This was the point of no return. You don't have to do this, she said softly, her voice trembling. We can find another way. Isaac shook his head, his grip tightening on his sword. There is no other way, Azara. Not anymore. With that, he turned to face Kale and the other Zorath leaders, his eyes filled with determination. If you want to fight, then let's fight. But know this, I will not back down. The tension in the room was palpable as the two sides faced off. Isaac could feel the energy in the air, the raw power of the Zorath warriors ready to attack. But he also felt something else, a sense of unity with Azara. She was standing with him, and together, they were strong. Kale raised his hand, signaling for his soldiers to move. Without hesitation, the Zorath warriors lunged forward, their weapons drawn. Isaac met the first soldier head-on, his sword flashing in the dim light. The clash of metal rang through the room as he fought with everything he had, his every move fueled by the determination to protect Azara and the future of their people. Despite the overwhelming odds, Isaac fought fiercely, his years of training and experience coming to the forefront. He knew he wasn't alone. Azara's presence was like a beacon of strength guiding him through the chaos. As the battle raged on, Isaac's heart remained focused on one goal, survival. But just as the tide of battle seemed to shift in Isaac's favor, Kale made his move. The Zorath commander lunged forward, his sword aimed directly at Isaac's chest. Isaac barely had time to react, but in a split second he parried Kale's strike, sending the commander stumbling backward. You are not my enemy, Isaac said, his voice low but resolute. But if you stand in my way, I will stop you. Kale sneered, rising to his feet. Then let us see if you can. The final battle had begun, and Isaac knew this was the moment that would determine everything. The fate of the Zorath, and perhaps the fate of two worlds, depended on what happened next.